Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to Stranger Days for the 8th of May, 2019. And I kind of feel like the world is imploding in a couple of different ways. That bombshell report that came out last night talking about President Trump and the amount of money he wrote off, at least between the years of 1985 and 1994, is staggering. Of course, it's not going to be one of the stories I cover today. It's more of kind of a thought, but look. I understand that there are people out there that support the president, and I really don't have much of a problem with that. Like, you like the guy, he's your dude, fine, cool beans. Okay, we'll see if he gets another term. I don't think it's going to happen, but whatever, we'll find out next year. But you got to admit, the dude is like one of the worst businessmen on the planet. And it's becoming more and more apparent. I think that's really one of the reasons why he is fighting as hard as he is to keep his tax returns from coming out. And I think it's more about ego than I think it's about anything else. Like, people are going to argue, like collusion, delusion, whatever. When you have 500 former federal prosecutors coming out and saying, yeah, if he wasn't president, he would be charged. It kind of gives you an idea about just what kind of person Donald Trump is. In the long run, or I guess overall the run of his entire life. But then again, this is also not new information. I just want to point that out. This is not new information. At no point is this new. Everyone has known he's been a crappy businessman for a long time. And somehow he's president. It's one of the, it is one of the things that I think about on a near daily basis. Of course, it's not like a derangement thing. It's not like I sit there and plot ways for Trump to get removed from office. At this point, I'm just riding out the clock like everybody else. I find it funny that Jerry Falwell Jr. tweets out that Trump deserves 2 more years added on to his term to make up for the 2 years that he had control of all 3 branches of government and still didn't really accomplish that much outside of the tax code rehaul or overhaul. And even that is good or bad, depending on who you talk to. And to me, that's just pretty entertaining that even Trump himself retweeted it as if that's going to change anything, as if his base is going to grab their torches, grab their pitchforks, head off in search of, those extra 2 years where nothing got accomplished. Because it wasn't like, he couldn't work during the investigation. And at the end of the day, and this just boggles my damn mind, he's now, by the way, today, blocking the Mueller report, citing executive privilege, which is his right to do, obviously. But for a man who claims to have done nothing wrong, for a man who claims to have nothing to hide, and that he's been the subject of a witch hunt, why not release the information and 100% exonerate yourself? If he claims there's exoneration, then if it proves at 100%, then release the information. This is the problem with Trump. And look, you may not like me saying this, but it's true. This is a problem with Donald Trump. It's everything else that he does that just raises all the suspicions. It just raises all the damn suspicions. And it's funny to watch day in and day out because I just laugh. At this point, that's all I can do is just start to laugh. I think it keeps more people sane if you just kind of sit back and chuckle a little bit. It's really both sides. You've got people like Lindsey Graham that are at this point getting teabagged by Trump. He just opens his mouth wide and Trump just sets him in there, just sits him in to keep him warm for the winter. Every once in a while, Lindsey just uses his tongue for a ball wash, and that's what he does. And it's a protection thing with Graham, which is the most funny part about it. It's just protection. He's like, oh no, McCain is dead. What am I going to do? You just suck up to the president. You got McConnell, who's, yeah, I'm not a fan of McConnell at all, but it's just, man, politics is shit. This is one of the reasons why I very much support the concept of term limits for everybody. I feel that if you want fresh blood to come on in and retool the system, by all means, and this is again for both sides, then you absolutely positively need to get some fresh people in there. Like, you know what? Get rid of Pelosi. Get rid of Schumer. They've been there long enough. Graham, McConnell, all those, Grassley, all those dudes that have been there for like 20 some odd years. I think it's okay to let them move on and bring in some fresh people to get some fresh perspectives, because it's the boomers that are starting to ruin it for everybody else to an extent, and eventually they're going to die. And that is a stark reality. And then us, I don't know, would I be considered a Zoomer? I'm 37. I'm considered a millennial. You know, I was 17 when the clock struck midnight on Y2K. I was still a teenager. I was still a minor at the time. I was born in 82 on what you might call a zennial. It's a weird place to be. Just as a quick side story, when I was in school growing up, for me, it was always like, you know, you're going to be the class of 2000, the first graduating class in the new millennium. You're going to be the ones to lead us to the future. And you're going to start by being the smoke-free class of 2000. And I sat there and I lit a cigarette and went, yeah, all right, whatever. Like, it's just, they put all this pressure on kids. Don't get me wrong, you shouldn't smoke. I quit smoking 13 years ago. This when is it? This is May. In September will be 13 years. Yeah. Quit cold turkey. Gained a lot of weight. I mean, I was already fat, but I gained more weight than I have it on that front. But anyway, I got some stories to get to today, as well as some user submitted questions, which I'm looking forward to talking about that. So without further ado, I want to talk about censorship, because censorship is an issue, especially on social media, and it does need to be talked about because this is just absolutely fucking weird. So Bounding Into Comics, which is definitely more of a right-leaning comic book website. However, even though they're moving further and further away from talking about comic books, this is kind of a catch-all here. We see the little top bar: movies, television, celebrity, comic books plus. Is that, I don't know, is that atheism plus, feminism plus? What's it plus? What's comic books plus? Bounding Into Comics. Anime censorship now has its own subdivision. Censorship now has its own subdivision. So no one sink in for a second. Anyway, look, these guys got done dirty by Facebook. There's no question about it here. Facebook completely removes Bounding Into Comics' 250K strong fan page. And that is some shit, because Facebook is still a method of getting the word out, and that's not cool. Now, it says here, Facebook has censored Bounding Into Comics and completely removed our 250K strong Facebook page, showing this is what it looks like. Didn't provide any warnings. It was removed Monday around 10:20 a.m. Eastern Standard, shortly after they published the new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. Now, that's interesting to me, because it does look like they just the way they're describing it here is that they uploaded the trailer whole cloth. Let's take a look here at the actual page. So, showing here, this is the page. New Spider-Man Far From Home trailer reviews huge details with MCU Phase 4. And then it looks like they just, it looks like they uploaded it themselves to their own website. No, that's YouTube. So I don't know. That's basically about it. And now the question then becomes, did they upload the clip directly to Facebook? Right. This is just, shortly after we published this trailer. It's vague. It's very vague in how it's discussing it, in my opinion. But he got a number of alerts saying that the content got him in trouble, and which is very odd. Did they upload the article and then the article flagged copyright? Or did they upload it directly to Facebook and then that's what flagged copyright? Because it goes through a whole bunch of things here, and it says here, if you continue to post content that infringes or violates others' rights or otherwise violates the law, you could be temporarily blocked from posting content on Facebook or even have your account permanently banned. And again, no real explanation as to what they did specifically to warrant this particular ban. But he gets another alert that says that it directed us to review Facebook's intellectual property policies. It read, if you have any questions regarding the removal, please visit the help center to help keep your account in good standing. Remove any other content you posted to Facebook that may infringe or otherwise violates another's rights. And that is weird, because how much shit is uploaded to Facebook that violates other people's rights? There's a lot of it. There's an absolute dickload of stuff that gets uploaded to Facebook that they don't own the goddamn rights to, but that's not going to stop them there. And then they go, they keep going. If you keep posting content that infringes and violates other people's rights or otherwise violates the law, you could be temporarily blocked or have your account permanently disabled. They'll just kind of keep repeating themselves on this particular front. Oh, you upload stuff that you don't own. Thwip, you gone. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me, because it's movie trailers. I mean, maybe it's Sony cracking down But then again, like there are channels on YouTube that do get whitelisted for what they can upload. I'm not kidding you. There are channels out there that do re-upload full-on trailers and get millions of views, and they get whitelisted as a result of this. It's super crazy. Now, he goes on to say here, as you can see, Facebook did not provide us with any actual concrete examples of the alleged violation. In fact, the reason why we were writing this article today instead of yesterday is because we attempted to reach out to Facebook, believing the removal of the page was inadvertent. However, Facebook has not responded to any of our questions. They stopped responding in an email thread with a publisher and media support team representative once the page was identified. Given recent reports of Facebook and Twitter removing pages that do not align with their views, I think it's safe to assume that Facebook is likely targeting bounding into comics due to the nature of the content and what we cover and post. Now, that's a leap. That's a leap. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. In my opinion, that's a hell of a damn leap, because they labeled Paul Joseph Watson, because that's kind of what gets brought up here. It's like later on in the article, you know, Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones being booted, but they were labeled dangerous entities on Facebook. That was their identifier. So if bounding into comics was being censored for its political opinions, then why in God's name didn't it say that? Didn't it say that this is considered a dangerous outlet? It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying that looking at it and looking at what they provided, it has more to do with IP rights and copyright violation, it feels like, rather than anything else, which then feels more like a crackdown from Sony and using the bot as a way. And it also makes me question, and this is just something that I'm kind of running on here, the 250,000 people on Facebook, did they re-upload the trailer to their Facebook account, and were they able to monetize it? Because you can monetize videos on Facebook now. I don't know how much money they make. I guess it all depends on how viral it goes. But if you got 250,000 people that are a fan of your page, you can get a pretty decent reach, provided there's a lot of engagement, because that's how Facebook fan pages operate. They all operate off of engagement. So if they re-uploaded this here, and it's very vague about what it is. It's very, very, very vague. Then it makes me really question whether or not they were trying to profit off of Sony's copyright. And if that is the case, and again, this is all speculation, I have no idea, then I could see that being an issue. I could. But, again, now it says, bounding into comics contributors are not afraid to offer a critical look at the current entertainment culture as it pertains to the comic book industry, Hollywood, and video games. See, you got to keep in mind on that one right there, right? Where they talk about, certain things like, oh, the industry, Hollywood, and video games. You figure it would be related to the actual content created within. But it talks about here, like Marvel's Sana Emanat, who unabashedly stated that Mexican Jews, Muslims, women, and Native American, the environment, science, and kids are all things Republicans hate. That's covering some controversy. Also talking about IDW executive Justin Eisinger's comments, where he intimated he wanted to execute Donald Trump supporters via guillotine before asking a reporter if she punched a Trump supporter in the face. And again, I get it. They're going to cover it from like a right-leaning perspective. They're going to cover it from these angles. And these are things they should be covering, because those are both pretty stupid things to say. And then but it tries to then shift to talking about Battlefield 5 as if that's going to be something everyone talks shit about Battlefield 5. But then it says here, we also cover celebrity opinions, specifically their opinions and their influence on culture. But then talking about Zoe Saldana and Charlize Theron and how they raise their children. But those don't have any influences on culture. The Charlize Theron situation involving her 7-year-old daughter, I think is what it is. Or when her child was younger, her son was younger, he adopted son and said, I'm not a boy. And then Charlize was like, oh, damn. And she got woke and raised her as a daughter, I guess. And that came up, and that was a big thing. It was a flash in the pan situation. No one really cared. No one gave a shit at all. They moved on. So, but then it says here, bounding into comics has covered Facebook censorship policies, including the recent ban on Louis Farrakhan, Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos, Laura Loomer, and Paul Joseph Watson. All 5 of those people have nothing to do with Hollywood, comics, or even video games. And you can argue Milo and Gamergate, but even then, Milo kind of came in. Milo just came in and did it his own thing. He tried to control the narrative because of Steve Bannon, and we know this. So because of that, fuck Milo, and I've said that publicly multiple times. So again, they talk about everything they want to talk about, and now they feel that they're being censored as a result of it. I think it's more copyright violation in regards to this. into that trailer specifically than I think it's anything else, to be honest with you. Again, they haven't really provided the evidence. They're speculative, speculation at best. Facebook, here's the thing: is I was booted off of Instagram a few months ago. Somebody said that I was imitating them. It's an account I'd had up for over 3 years, and then they just straight booted it, and I haven't been able to get it back. So I said, "Fuck Instagram," because that's how that's how I feel about Instagram. But they're like this, so sometimes these things happen. And it could be for a multitude of reasons. I don't think I was booted off of Instagram because I was posting pictures of my cats, and I don't agree with, I just want to point out here, I don't agree with there being the level that they provided. I think Facebook is it feels like a very shitty way to provide context for why you were removed. I just want to make that abundantly clear. I don't think that this is the right course of action. I don't think they should have been removed, but I do feel that it has more to do with IP violation than it does for having the opinions that they espouse on this website. That's my take on it. And until more information comes out, that's kind of where I'm going to sit with it. But speaking of right-leaning people and actually doing something good, because I'm sorry, I'm a lefty. I don't really view the right as doing a lot good very often. This is how I view it. But we have here a Republican senator introduces a bill to prohibit loot boxes in games aimed at kids under the age of 18. And this is something that all of us out there can 100% get behind. This is something that we all have 100% the ability to get behind. And it shouldn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. But of course, like Bounding into Comics, OneAngryGamer.net are very heavily skewed towards the right. But to be fair, they legitimately actually cover issues that a lot of people on the left don't cover. So I give them a lot of credit for that. I do. I really, 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 really do. So it says here, Republican Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri has introduced a bill called the Protecting Children from Abusive Games Act, which would prevent publishers from including loot boxes or pay-to-win microtransactions in games aimed at kids under the age of 18, meaning that any game rated E for everyone 13 would no longer be able to feature loot boxes or pay-to-win cash shops in mobile, home console, and PC games. And let me just do this. I applaud that. I do. I applaud that. I'm 100% on board with this shit being knocked out of existence, right? It is pretty predatory. It's optional in many cases, and for the most part, like I don't have a huge issue with them in the game. The reason why is because I'm too cheap to ever actually fucking pay for it. Like I grind like a moron. I grind because that's how the game's designed. I'm like, do I want to pay 30 cents for this skin? No, I will spend the 8 hours to try to get it. The gamification of all that shit just is what gets to be a little crazy. Anyway, the Washington Post is reporting that the bill would prohibit publishers from aggressively targeting pay-to-win microtransactions and loot boxes at kids, with Senator Holland saying here, social media and video games prey on user addiction, siphoning our kids' attention from the real world and extracting profits from fostering compulsive habits. No matter this business model's advantages to the tech industry, one thing is clear. There is no excuse for exploiting children through such practices. When a game is designed for kids, game developers shouldn't be allowed to monetize addiction, and when kids play games designed for adults, they should be walled off from compulsive microtransactions. Interesting. So for one, there's a situation where kids playing games that are aimed for adults, like Call of Duty, Battlefield, I think even like Battlefront. No, that was rated T for teen. Those games are all, they have microtransactions. At least the first two are also rated M for mature, so kids shouldn't be playing them, but they clearly do. And kids are going to lie about their age. So unless you find a way to go, are you over the age of 18? Then, microtransactions are disabled. They might start doing that. I'm not going to lie, guys. I wouldn't put it past game companies in the future to start having you submit identification to prove you are how old you are. I'm not kidding you. That feels like it might be going we have to make sure that our liabilities are covered. We have to make sure that our assets are covered. So, we're going to require you to scan in a photo of your driver's license to prove that you are who you say you are. So we know that you're not lying to us. And we know that this is not going to bite us in the ass later on. I could see that happening, and I don't like it one goddamn bit. Gaming should not be this goddamn complicated. But when you're $100+ billion a year industry, you can see how it gets pretty damn complicated. Now, it goes on to say here that there have been multiple studies and reports indicating that loot box mechanisms in games do operate very similar to traditional gambling mechanisms, and that many kids have already been exposed to loot boxes in some capacity when playing games. That's true. And it may not always just be, it's a lot of it's mobile practices. And the reason why they went to mobile practices is simply because those turned in a lot of money. And it's not even like every kid's going to do this. Really, the issue here are the whales that pay the money, the whales that come in, and they're the ones that spend all that damn cash. And those are the people that the game companies want to attract. It's not like it's not like this is virus that hits kids, but it does, there is the instant gratification aspect of it, and children don't necessarily have the ability to fully understand and grasp all the concepts presented to them, and addiction plays in, and there are problems with that. And I do think that loot boxes, just for the betterment of gaming, need to be gone away with, right? Because mobile has done more to damage games than anything else, even though they provide, it's free and you can play it anytime you want. I can do Candy Crush on the toilet, but then I got to pay money to advance to the next level if I haven't shared this with enough of my Facebook friends. That kind of shit feels really scummy to me, and nobody calls it out on mobile anymore. Only on AAA games. Really kind of weird how we've moved away from the mobile market, which arguably dominates a lot of the cash flow that comes into the industry. Now, it goes on to say here, further to the point, much of the opposition to loot box regulation comes from the lobbyist groups on behalf of publishers. The Entertainment Software Association, who has insisted that loot boxes are not gambling. In fact, Stanley Pierre Lewis, the ESA's acting president, said numerous countries, including Ireland, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom, determined that loot boxes do not constitute gambling. We look forward to sharing that with the senator and the tools and information the industry already provides that keeps control of in-game spending in parents' hands. Parents already have the ability to limit or prohibit in-game purchases with easy-to-use parental controls. Now, let me just say here, for one, I do agree that it does need to go into the parents' hands. I think that is like the number one place that shit like this should be looked at, because parents are the ones who put the controller, they buy it for the kids, they buy in the games, and they don't pay attention. They're the ones who do all the work and then get mad when their kid is an asshole and uses their credit card to buy a fuck ton of microtransactions, right? Like that is true. That is real. That's real. And it is the aspect of it. It's like, that needs to be looked at. So the ESA is not wrong there, but the ESA here, this is throwing some shade back. Well, other countries like Ireland, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, Australia, and New Zealand, not to mention the United Kingdom, they've all looked at this as not being gambling. So, but then again, where does the ESA get all its money from? Oh, right, publishers. Yeah, so it's one of those like, you scratch our back, we scratch yours. It's one of the reasons why I think a lot of us who follow gaming and have for many years are entirely okay with doing away with the with the ESA, because honest to God, screw those guys. Now, finally, in regards to stories covering today, this one, that's great. I had to talk about this one here. Florida man arrested for refusing to remove vulgar sticker, saying they're just words. Now, this man should be, when it comes to fighting back against censorship, this man should be a fucking hero. This man should be looked at as a folk legend in Florida. Why? Because he had a vulgar sticker and he went to jail. He went to jail because he didn't want to stop the world from knowing that he eats ass. I'm not even kidding. All right, so a Florida man was arrested over the weekend for refusing to remove a sticker from his vehicle's window that crudely described a person's sexual appetites. Dylan Shane Webb, 23, was charged with misdemeanor counts of violating Florida's obscenity law and resisting an officer without violence. A Columbia County Sheriff's Office reported that the sticker read, "I eat ass," according to the arrest report obtained by a reporter. Look at this guy right here. He eats ass. He dives in that shit. He's all, I see you had almonds recently. Really, really, really provides a nice aftertaste to the corn. Oh, shit. Anyway, it says here, when told the reason for the stop, he told the deputy, they're just words, man. Webb told the AP that the deputy seemed angry from the start of the traffic stop. He said that he had the sticker on his truck for less than a week before he was stopped by the deputy. He told the Associated Press he plans to fight the charges and defend his First Amendment right to speech, saying here, I am tired of police forces thinking they are above the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. He said, adding that he wasn't aware of the state's obscenity law. He said he could see why the sticker could be seen as vulgar by some, but the law doesn't really define what that is. And that, that's the thing with these obscenity laws. They really have no idea. You know what I mean? They really don't have much of an idea for these at all. They're so stupid. Now, this here was vulgar to me may not be vulgar to somebody else. Again, that's also true. The deputy determined probable cause of the violation of criminal law and took action. The sheriff said, if the law is faulty, then the legislature can address that, or if the law is unconstitutional, then the judiciary will address it. And it's Florida. They're crazy there. I wouldn't really expect it. Now, Webb was initially cited for obscenity with a notice to appear in court and was told to change the derogatory part of the sticker, but Webb refused. He was then charged with resisting and was taken to jail. He was released hours later on a $2,500 bond. So this dude, I just going to look at this guy right here. This is Dylan Shane, I eat ass Webb. Mofo should just start selling that on a t-shirt. His face, I eat ass. And I think people out there would probably buy it. They would buy it to support his legal bills. They'd buy it to support him legally. Like, hey, Dylan, you eat ass? He saw like all day, every day. Although he was in jail, he may not have wanted to talk about that. Like, hey, man, why are you in jail? I got arrested for obscenity laws. Really? Why is that? Bumper sticker says, I eat ass. Really? How true is that bumper sticker? And what kind of ass do you eat? Could either get him in a lot of trouble or make him a lot of friends behind bars. Anyway, I hope he wins. I hope he wins. I really do hope that he wins because it's bullshit. It's really bullshit that this guy is going through some crap. And speaking of bullshit here, I want to bring up the Q&A section of the podcast today. I got a couple that came in through the email. That's peskyadblock@gmail.com. You can email me there and ask your questions. I got this one from Chris saying, what are your thoughts about Bernie Sanders' comments regarding voting rights for prison inmates? Is voting an inalienable right? Now, this to me is an interesting one because it happened, like 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to talk about it back then, but I was kind of like redefining the show here. Here's the way I view it. Bernie was entirely right with his assumption, with what he said. And everyone bringing up the Boston Marathon bomber. Well, should the Boston Marathon bomber be able to vote? Well, here's the thing with that. For one, the Boston Marathon bomber is not a citizen. He was a permanent U.S. resident. So he could be here, but motherfucker can't vote. So it's kind of a moot argument, to be fair. It really is. It's a moot argument. At the same time, voting is what happens when you're a citizen. It's a privilege if you're a citizen. Unless you lose your citizenship, then it's an inalienable right. You know, if you believe in taking away someone's right to vote while they're locked up, then you kind of should support the concept of doing away with the Electoral College. Right? It is not. Look, you may think that's a weird analogy to make. But the reason why I say that is because in certain states, if you are not of the right mindset in regards to the presidential election, then your vote does not count. You effectively lose your right. You effectively lose your voice. If you're in California and you're a Republican, man, you're fucked. You're shit out of luck. Your vote doesn't even count, which I don't like one goddamn bit, by the way. And if you are in Texas and you're a left winger, your vote don't count. Well, eventually that's going to change. It's going to go purple. Same with Arizona and Florida. Sorry, some of your southern states are not going to go the way you want in the next like 15 to 20 years. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get through here is we are citizens of this country. We have rights under our Constitution. If we start picking and choosing which rights we are allowed, that to me is a bit of a dangerous thing. And we should all be in support of people having the right to vote anyway, at any point in time. We absolutely should, because that's just how I view it. That's honest to God how the fuck I view it. And I think the question about the Boston Marathon bomber was an absolute gotcha. And Bernie didn't have the time to do the fucking 2 minutes of research. Not even 2 minutes. Is Tamalan Snarnev, whatever the fuck his name is, a U.S. citizen? Oh no, he was a permanent U.S. resident. Can permanent residents vote? No. Okay, cool. They move on with the question. Because quite frankly, it was a gotcha. It was bullshit. It was stupid, and I wasn't a fan. But no, I think voting is an inalienable right, and to take that away because you're locked up is cruel and unusual. And it's even more so when you get out of prison and you still lose the right to vote in that state. And I'm glad Florida just voted to finally bring that back. Florida voted to finally change that shit, as they fucking should. And it's utterly ridiculous that the way Florida operated. And that's one of the reasons why, just as a real quick side note, it's one of the reasons why when the 2020 election happens and those 1.4 million convicts that got the right to vote back go to the voting booth, I don't think it's going to end the way a lot of Republicans in Florida think it's going to end. But you know what? I could be wrong, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. So let's thank you very much, Chris, for that one. We got this one here from Becca asking, do I think YouTube will ever return to how it was back in 2016, or will it continue to be restructured towards corporate media? Well, that's a good question too, because there's a lot going on with YouTube right now. They just had a big creator summit last week in I think New York, and they flew out like 100 top creators in order to get their feedback about where the platform is, because a lot of times YouTubers complain about YouTube with absolutely good reason too. The system is so screwed in many cases. Content ID claims, demonetization, comment sections being shut down because of certain things. I mean, there's a lot of problems with YouTube as a platform. There's a lot of harassment on YouTube. Susan Wojcicki herself recently talked about creator on creator harassment, and I do believe that is a big problem. I do. You may disagree with me on that one, but I think that's a big problem on YouTube. It's one of the reasons why I don't like to do videos about other YouTubers, because I feel like it doesn't. I don't know. I feel that it's been wielded as a weapon more often than not. And I say that because, I have friends that will do videos that criticize, they got hundreds of thousands of subs, and they criticize someone with 1,500 subs, and it's like that person can't even remotely fight back against what comes at them. And I think that was a big problem in 2016, in 2017 to an extent, and it slowed down quite a bit. And I'm glad, but at the same time, I think as content creators have to be wary, or at least aware of what kind of what is the response going to be to those who, come on in. And if we talk about somebody else, but that's a whole other thing. But as for going back to 2016, 2016 was considered the last good year by a lot of people. And no, I don't think it's ever going to go back to that. I think YouTube is going to crack down on a lot of things. I think one of the reasons they're doing that is because they don't know what to do. 500 hours of content are uploaded every single minute. 500 hours of content every single minute. That just increased from 400, which is what the standard was. Now it's 500. And at 400, that was 72 years of content uploaded every single day. Now add another 100 hours a minute. So another 2,400 hours. I don't even know how many days that is. Was that 100 days? Right? Is it 100 days? 100 more days? It's a lot. I'm just saying it's a lot of stuff right there. My math's probably off right there on that one too. Maybe 2,400. I don't know. I'm not here to talk about math. But the point I'm trying to get through here is that it's going to change. And you might be asking yourself, why are you doing this podcast version here? Why aren't you going back to doing regular videos? And the truth of the matter is, I have more fun in this format. Right. But I felt compelled for many years to do the 3 videos a day. And it was always trying to find something to talk about, and break it up, trying to reach a wider audience. I don't want to do that anymore. Not on this channel. So I'm going to do it this way for a while. And I do this for fun. And if I can turn this into something that is able to generate some decent income and able to generate a decent audience, I'm happy with that. But that's my take on it. A lot of people out there that are into the reactionary stuff, I have a feeling it's going to end up dying for them, because YouTube is going to look at that and they're going to start cracking down on that. They already crack down on it if you swear. They can detect if you swear. These videos, I swear, so they don't get monetized. I get limited or no ads because of that. So it's one of those things where you're going to want to like really pay attention to your favorite creator. And they're going to be going through some rough times, especially if you want, because a lot of people viewing they view swearing as being more authentic. And honestly, the advertisers are running, they're scared shitless over nothing in many cases. But look at all the situations involving child grooming or anything involving children on this platform. It scares advertisers, which then hurts everybody. And the only way that's ever gonna go away and to make it better for everybody else is to like start just eliminating children on the platform. Like if you are under the age of 18, you cannot have a channel. You cannot be featured in a channel because children watch YouTube. They watch a lot of YouTube. And as a result of that, they're a heavy target for certain things. And then that rolls down on everybody else. And so until YouTube finds a way to truly fix it, the rest of us are totally fucked. But as for corporate media is going to grow. It's just going to keep growing because it's where the eyeballs are. 2.5 billion people use YouTube every single month. The average amount of that is 250 million hours of watch time per day. 250 million hours per day, 250 million hours per day is what's watched on YouTube. It beats out television by several times. And that's where it's at. Something to consider on that particular front. Thank you, Becca, for that. I appreciate that particular question. And finally, we got one from Tim asking, what do I think about Ben Shapiro not losing his virginity till he was married at the age of 24? Now, this just came in as I was prepping up the episode, which is why I wanted to add it. Ben Shapiro put out a tweet a little bit ago talking about how he was very happy to have waited for marrying his wife, Moore Shapiro. Her name is Moore, M-O-R. They married in 2008. He is 35 years old, so that would have been 9 years ago, 9 years ago. And he lost his virginity back then. And so he would have been 24 at the age when he lost his virginity. And hey man, like I'm not going to knock the guy. But to be fair, you look at Ben Shapiro and you're like, nah, I get it. I get it. Look, and it's not that the guy is not, I guess you could say like an attractive man. I guess, in some aspects he is. There was a photo I saw of him the other day on TMZ that made it look like he was a 35-year-old cosplaying as a 15-year-old on a family trip to the Bahamas. He just looks like a boy, and so you could kind of see that, like maybe that may be having a bit of impact with the ladies back in the day. But at the same time, he's been so orthodox on his religion that he probably would, he was never gonna like get jiggy with it until he was married, because that's his approach. You know what I mean? If he won't go to Dave Rubin's gay anniversary party, he didn't have sex until he was married. That's the kind of Jew that he is. And that's fine. You want to save yourself till marriage? That's cool, man. You want to save yourself? I have no issue with that. I ain't gonna knock anybody on that one. I personally think more people need to fuck. I do. I think we need to fuck more often. I think we need to fuck more frequently. And the reason why I say that is because in our society, people are way too fucking tighten, man. Everything's tight, And if you fuck more, you feel better. It's physiology. Anyway, thank you very much for that question, Tim. I hope I answered it to the best of my ability. And so that actually wraps up today's show. Again, running a little bit longer than I thought. We're coming in at just under 40 minutes, I think, for the whole thing. So I appreciate everyone tuning in to the live show and then also watching it after the fact. And if you want to ask questions, you can send it over to peskyadblock@gmail.com. And it's entirely possible that if we get more of those questions coming in, I might just cover one main story and then go right to Q&A. So that would be fun too. These are great. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. 5 p.m. Pacific is when I'm going to try to start getting these things up. And have yourself a great day, guys. And peace out.